Society has spent years drilling a very specific lie into your head that if you want to be noticed, you have to be loud. We're conditioned to believe that success belongs to the extroverts, the people who dominate every conversation and broadcast every thought to prove they're in the room. But that constant need for visibility is actually a vulnerability. Large-scale platforms and corporate interests thrive when you are in a state of perpetual reaction. They flood your environment with high-stimulus entertainment and manufactured drama because a distracted mind is a mind that's easier to direct. These platforms aren't just random streams of data. They are designed by psychologists to exploit your neurological wiring. By studying how humans seek rewards, they've mapped out ways to keep you scrolling long after your logical brain tells you to stop. This process relies on a mechanism called the emotional hijack. When you encounter content designed to trigger instant outrage or fear, your brain's emotional center reacts so quickly that it effectively overwhelms the logical pathway. You stop thinking about long-term goals and start reacting to immediate stimuli. In this state, your decisions are no longer driven by your own values, but by whatever impulse was most recently triggered. When your emotions are consistently managed by external sources, you've essentially handed over the steering wheel of your own attention. Trying to fight this noise by being louder only feeds the cycle. The real way to regain your autonomy isn't to join the shouting match. It's to step out of the loop entirely and master the quiet architecture of influence. We often mistake volume for authority. We assume the person speaking the most must be the one with the most information or the most confidence. In reality, constant talking is often a defense mechanism to hide uncertainty. There is a different kind of power called dark confidence. It isn't about being tough or being loud. It's about profound self-mastery, where you no longer explain yourself or seek permission from the room. This approach has been the silent engine behind some of history's greatest breakthroughs. Albert Einstein didn't change physics by being the loudest voice in the academy. He did it through the kind of deep, isolated thought that only happens when you value silence over social chatter. You see the same pattern in leaders like APJ Abdul Kalam. His influence wasn't built on aggressive posturing, but on a reputation for quiet, analytical intensity. These individuals show that retreating from the noise isn't a sign of weakness, it's a requirement for high-level strategy. This creates what we call the observer's advantage. While everyone else is busy projecting their image and giving away their intentions, the silent observer is gathering data. By staying still, you begin to see the insecurities and patterns that other people miss because they're too busy talking. When you finally do speak, your words carry more weight. You aren't just adding to the noise, you're providing the specific insight that the rest of the room was too distracted to find. You can apply these observations through specific psychological tactics. When faced with an aggressive argument or a toxic peer, your brain wants to defend itself with more words. But silence is often a more effective shield. Consider the guilt trap. If someone attacks you, instead of explaining yourself, maintain eye contact and stay completely silent. By refusing to engage, you turn your silence into a mirror. Without a reaction to push against, they must sit with their own words. The discomfort causes them to over-explain or apologize, as their internal anxiety fills the vacuum you've created. Silence can also be used to structure how others make decisions. True influence isn't about arcane orders. It's about framing choices so that the desired outcome feels like the other person's idea. This is the master of choice. If you want someone to commit to a plan, don't ask for a yes or no. Give them two options that both serve your goal, like asking, should we meet at 5 or 6? Their ego feels satisfied because they made the choice, but you've already designed the result. You can even use the reverse trap by suggesting a task might be too difficult or complex for someone. Often, the desire to protect their own self-image will drive them to complete the task just to prove your assessment wrong. These tactics demonstrate that influence doesn't require volume. By understanding the common levers of human ego, you can navigate social dynamics without ever needing to raise your voice. Mastering these small, quiet interactions leads to a spillover effect. When you stop reacting impulsively to the people around you, that habit of mindfulness begins to change how you handle every other area of your life. You become more aware of the subtle ways your attention is being farmed. This psychological literacy makes you less susceptible to the rage bait and cheap entertainment that keep most people in a state of perpetual distraction. This approach aligns you with a strategy used by some of the world's most resilient figures. Oprah Winfrey, for example, built an empire not just on communication, but on an incredible level of emotional intelligence, knowing when to speak, when to listen, and how to read the room. Being introverted or quiet isn't something you need to fix or apologize for. It is a natural disposition that, when understood, can be used as a highly effective tool for navigating a world that refuses to stop talking. Real power isn't found in the noise. It's found in the clarity you gain when you finally stop contributing to it and start observing the mind for what it actually is.